strange lately because I always end the day with massive amounts of trepidation. And so far, it looks like things are kind of softening up. But yeah, I think between now and Nvidia's earnings post close tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of sitting on hands going on.
It seems like that right now. I mean, look, it's early in the day. I actually never really pay much attention to volume at this point, so I don't really have a frame of reference. But it looks like we could be hard pressed to get up to 1 million contracts in the E-mini S&Ps. We'll see.
Yeah, there's the two big events this week, of course, are within like 36 hours of each other. We've got the Nvidia announcement Wednesday after the close, then Jackson Hole half hour into the trading day on Friday. And I suppose people would really like to get both of those behind them before they kind of assess what's what. And I try to be a purist about charts and try and let news affect me. But I got to say, I took profits on AMD. I took profits at MU because, like, do I really want to be short all this stuff, through the Nvidia announcement? Mm-hmm. Of course, if it plunges, then I'll be upset. But all the same, it's as always, I'm kind of doing for myself kind of the bottoms up kind of choices and picking charts on a piece by piece basis. We can look at a couple of three sectors to kind of get a taste of things.
Love it. Let's do it.
Sure. Let's start really broadly, and this will go to the sitting on hands motif. Here's the ES, which looks remarkably like an oil painting. The past 3 days, it has been just grinding around that blue horizontal, and all the blue horizontal represents is the prior lifetime high back in June, which we popped up above based upon Besant's declaration that the Iran war is going to be settled in a day or two. It wasn't, but that's what compelled the prices higher, and it has sunk below that, but has basically been playing jump rope for the past 3 days ever since, just going absolutely nowhere. In a little bit of contrast to that, looking at the NQ, it has been kind of going down on the same time span. We can see here where Jamal mentioned Christmas lights a moment ago. Red, green. That's kind of the toggle happening right now. But broadly speaking, quite plainly, you can see over the past 7 days, it has been working its way lower as opposed to kind of flatlining like the ES has been. And my own obsession, which goes right to the Nvidia thing tomorrow, is SMH. We had that gap down where that orange ray is anchored, and we have been in fits and starts working our way lower as people wring their hands a bit more about AI/hyperscaling, which I don't know, as the resident perma-bear, I've got to wonder that since everybody's talking about the AI bubble, is it a bubble? Because people don't usually telegraph it quite like that in history. But that whole area is definitely giving bloom off the rose kind of vibes.
No, 100%, especially in this time period where we got all these high interest rates, right? Like, I think it's starting to wear on the psyche of all the people who have these AI longs. It's like, wait a minute, we're dependent upon low rates for the future, for these future earnings. And rates are what? 30 years from now? What? Like, it's not looking good, I think, for that trade for that reason.
Right. And we are precisely 10 weeks from the midterms. And I think the texture, the tone, the personality of the market is going to have a Jekyll and Hyde change following that date. And for 2 months, it's going to be unchecked pandemonium, which I'm kind of looking forward to. But in the 70 days between now and then, there's going to be gimmicks and announcements and basically everything bullish possible thrown at this thing. Like I say, I'm just kind of counting the days till the bearish liberation day, so to speak. One item I've been watching with some interest, of course, has been Bitcoin, which has been just a dynamo lately. And it's a fascinating chart because, as I've made clear, I've sort of removed my bearish cap on long-term Bitcoin. It found so much support around 60,000, literally for months. It was just grinding around there. And in retrospect, we can plainly see with that rectangle I've drawn, a base was building. And about, 5 days ago, the energy from that base was finally released very explosively. And yesterday, I went ahead and based upon the premise that the big round number 80,000 would provide some kind of resistance to this, and more importantly, this broken trend line would provide resistance. I went ahead and shorted IBIT, the big Bitcoin ETF. And last night, when it vaulted from like 79 to 81, it kind of rolled my eyes like, you got to stop touching crypto, Tim. But it's actually worked out. It's shown a nice profit so far. And the good news from a charting perspective is this is a very overextended looking chart. It has every decent chance of falling back to around 67,000 or so. But I'll just balance this bearish disposition by saying if it does get to the upper 60,000s, and these are words you probably never would hear cross my lips, but it may be a good time to buy Bitcoin.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
Yeah, no, bolt, Bitcoin bolt. No. I know, stunned silence, I realize. So I'll recap. No, I'm short IBIT, profitable, and going to hold on to sub 70. But because this, and believe me, I'm not buying Bitcoin. I'm old school. I'm old fashioned. You know, the little intro when they do the song and show my face, it's like they're watching me age here. That picture was from 2 decades ago. But weirdly, you know, even though I do not embrace it, it sure is acting like so-called digital gold, and the correlation's gotten really close. I'll put this in a way that's more palatable. If Bitcoin gets to the upper 60s, I think gold will likewise have fallen, and then I think I'm going to buy a lot more gold. I'll just say that, real gold.
The line you got there, what would be that high if Bitcoin touched that? Not the high, but like what would be that? Yeah, what would be that top?
Oh,
of that?
like when is the trend line busted?
Yeah.
Just eyeballing it here with my poor aging eyes, I'd say probably like 83,000 or so on the futures.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
On the cash, I could get it more precisely, but something like that. And psychologically, 80,000, just like 70 and 60 and so forth. You know, 60 was the big round number that offered support. 80, I think, is the big round number that's going to provide resistance. I don't know what the cash peak was on this, but probably kind of close to 80,000. So it kind of makes sense that it's in this retreat. Of course, the looming uncertainty is Jackson Hole. But I would not be surprised if between now and the end of next week, we got back down to the upper 60s, at which time I would get out of the short. And like I said, not buy Bitcoin, even though I think it will go up, but buy gold.
Yeah, just looking at the last 3 days, I mean, you see these candles, you see these long wicks. It does seem like it's beginning to run out of steam a little bit here. So I was actually thinking it might be a decent area to get a little short too.
Right. These are the 3 monsters, and then they're just kind of padding their gains right there. But it's as we back up here, and the broad premise for me, and this isn't completely out of the question. The broad premise for me was this monstrous zone right here would constitute a really important top, which would send this thing down to say 40,000. It was its resistance to doing that kind of threw doubt, and it's going to take a lot of work to bust through that rectangle there, to cut through all that, because this does represent pretty meaningful support. And by way of contrast, and to kind of augment this, gold, here's the GC futures, very much the same setup. We ground around here. We got a skosh below 4,000, but we ground around 4,000 for a while. And its release was earlier. It finally burst out of it here. And so we added about $700 to gold in a matter of just a few weeks. It cut above this horizontal, it cut above this descending trend line. And so the equivalent diminishment in price would be down around here, something like 4,400, just to put a simple number on it. So just to put this in a sentence, if gold gets down to 4,400, I think it's going to be a terrific time to buy.
I can agree with you on that one. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like it's again, they're both kind of moving for similar reasons, right? These non-yielding assets, all of a sudden you got interest rates at highs, but I guess we're going to get some answers here in a couple of days. We'll see what happens on the other side of this Jackson Hole.
Yeah, you never. I mean, I've got the scar tissue from the Bernanke Jackson Hole event. I think I'll have to my dying day, and so I probably put too much weight on just how big a deal the speech is. There have been Jackson Hole speeches before that was just absolute nothing burgers. Just like, why were we even caring about this? Yeah. And this could be another one. Who knows?
Because it's a great article writing opportunity, Tim. That's why, for a lot of people. That's my theory.
All the speculation and dissecting every semicolon and comma. Yeah, and they conveniently put it right at the start of the trading day. I'll say in brief, just briefly, one sector that I've got a bunch of shorts on has nothing to do with semiconductors, but is kind of techish, I guess. Which is I've got to come up with a better name for this. I just call it the SpaceX type sector. SpaceX itself is fine. Hats off, champagne glass raised and all that. But anything else with a rocket engine attached to it, I've got short positions on, and those are doing pretty good even on this very green day. We've got EchoStar, red bar on that over that's up a little bit today. Viasat, which is down just a touch, but this is like its 10th red bar in a row. Rocket Lab, which is down about 1.5%, 5 red bars in a row. So that whole and it's not like I have this general view that satellite / space is in trouble. It's just that it just so happens that those charts all looked good on the short side. So in spite of SpaceX being weirdly stable, it's much smaller competitors are continuing to slip lower.
Yeah, I know it is. You talk about calling the group. I guess we can't call it the space. Guess we got to find the exploration space.
Major Matt Mason's moon mission. Just space stuff. I'm just glancing at the clock here, see if we got time for one more. I'll just
one more real quick.
Yeah. Let's talk about DICS. We've been wanting to every day. Here we are, DKS, wipeout. I wish I could say I was short this stuff. I'm not. I followed it for the longest time, and DKS, Dick's Sporting Goods, is just getting fricasseed today. Oh my goodness gracious, it's down over 25%. You can see that for months and months and months, this thing went absolutely nowhere. And I just stopped charting it. I stopped looking at it. I stopped thinking about it. And lo and behold, today they came out and said, hey, revenue, profits, everything else going a lot less than we predicted. And so for those who didn't know, this is the big wipeout today, Dick's Sporting Goods. Ouch.
Yeah, and a lot of names in that space. Nike's down, Lulu's down. So yeah, really tough run of it there, but we'll see how it ends up playing.
I haven't looked at Foot Locker. What are they up to? Let's peek.
I don't even know their stock number. And
whole lot of nothing. 4 days of nothing. Okay, well, I guess it's all about DKS at this point.
It really is. Yeah. So it's
definitely a very big fish. A very big fish that got away from me. But anybody who was short out there, hats off, congratulations. I was not following that. In retrospect, it's a beauty of a chart, but it took years to reach this point. So I don't have the patience, I'm afraid.
I hear you. Well, Tim, good to see you as always. Thanks for your insights. Appreciate you. We'll see you a little later today.
Good luck, everybody. And tomorrow, I got a feeling we're going to be talking about Nvidia some more. So I'll see you then.
For sure. No doubt. E-mini S&Ps are fading here, only up 9 now, and NASDAQ is only up 126 points. But again, this seems like a day where people are just repositioning. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of volume, and nobody wants to really put themselves out there ahead of some big catalysts coming later this week. But we're going to take a quick 90-second break, and we'll see you on the other side. You're watching Tasty Live.